Let me go ahead and paint you a scenario. You hide within a shelter, for outside is utter chaos. Some nights, all you hear is the screams of people getting torn apart, only to find their leftover remains the next day and simply be left to wonder what could wreak such havoc. At night, there's a chance you are visited by strangers who, while at first may appear and speak as though they are human, a closer look will show you they are anything but. Where these creatures exactly come from, you can't be for certain. All you know is when they're ready to kill, they emerge from beneath the ground. And if you have the misfortune of being fooled by one of these beings, you are likely to suffer the deadly consequences. These things seem to only appear during the night, however, and follow some strange rule set that prevents them from simply breaking into wherever you're hiding and tearing you apart. But that's not the case for everyone. There are some of these humanoid creatures that seem to carry themselves differently from the rest of the pack. One that seems to be capable of breaking the rules if it wants. One that's more deeply tied to the mysteries of what's going on. What exactly is going on? Well, nobody knows outside the living nightmares. Some believe the government could be heavily tied to the darkness unfolding, some grand, sick, twisted governmental experiment. And while there are clues that support this, nobody can be truly sure. All we know for certain is that nobody is safe, and this story has more twists than you'd expect to unfold. What am I exactly describing? Well, I'm describing both the game No I'm Not Human and the television series Run.
Okay, let's start with the tree you saw in the road.
She said it was a place that was everywhere, but you couldn't find it if you tried.
I always thought the town was the worst part. And then I went through the tree.
See, you were lucky. The sun was still in the sky when you got here. People came to help. Not everybody gets that. Those things out there, they like to hunt. They like to play.
Everybody here just talks about how afraid they are at night.
They're coming.
I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen to you here.
There's darkness in the forest. Nightmares again, even begin to imagine.
It's all just a dream.
Things we were never meant to see. Things that...
You said this place couldn't break me. You don't fucking break me! That's what you said. Do you remember that?
We don't have time for it. You think those things that come out of the forest at night did this? They're just the tip of the spear.
You can't go to sleep! Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you listening to me? The talisman will not protect you. There is nowhere that you are safe! No!
That was a hell of a song.
Knowledge comes with a cost.
In my opinion, horror is best made when it represents an aspect of the real-world fears of many people. From period pieces to character studies, there's always an aspect of the real world that helps fuel true horror of anything you watch, no matter how paranormal or supernatural it is. That being said, with the
political and economic state of the world right now?
There is an obvious increase in people becoming more isolated and separating themselves from the rest of society. With so many conveniences that can be found within your very own home, you can easily see why some would rather stay inside. Well, not too recently, there was a game that captured this essence well, and that is, of course, No I Am Not Human. A game I actually thoroughly enjoyed upon release. And while I heard there's multiple endings to the game, and perhaps one day I'll record some more just to see if I can find them, in the playthrough I had, I couldn't help but think of the series From. and noticing the many similarities and parallels each of them possess. You see, the primary premise of both of these series is that everybody stays inside at night, because during the night, creatures that look an awful lot like human beings emerge from underneath the ground and basically will wander the streets, knocking at doors and trying to be let in different places.
That's all the knocks for the night. What is this creature? Prove that you're a person. 2 arm, 2 leg, 1 head. Not enough for you? Get out of here. Look at Kitty. Think again. Fine, you do have a cat. Come on in.
These creatures look human, talk human, but definitely aren't, but they all possess a very similar quality. That is manipulation, whether it be on purpose or inadvertently so. See, in the series From, you can almost count on every one of these creatures basically trying to get to the point where they can kill you. We've rarely seen a case where these creatures will let anyone live if they get the chance, and usually if they do, it's simply to cause some more terror later on down the line. However, with the game of No I'm Not Human, these creatures sometimes aren't even aware of their own nature. As of this point in time, in No I'm Not Human, the creatures seem to be under some sort of infection, leaving most of them unaware of their non-human nature. Another massive difference is you also have this taking place in relatively the normal world, while From takes place in what can only be described as a sort of pocket dimension. In From, the people are trapped and have no forms of communication or figuring out what exactly is going on, outside of discussing things with who's directly next to you. Versus in No I'm Not Human, these creatures emerge during a relatively brutal environmental crisis.
At 6:28 today, there was a powerful emission of energy from the sun.
How's it going, 4 eyes? Fucking nerd.
During the time of their emergence, people normally stayed sheltered inside until the nighttime. For during the day, the sun would burn so increasingly hot that it'd simply be too unsafe to stand outside. However, once these creatures started emerging, the word started to spread relatively quickly.
Yeah, that's gonna be something I probably don't ever check out.
Most of humanity immediately came to the conclusion that they would call these creatures the Visitors, with whoever coined the term still being a mystery as far as I'm aware. But in the series of From, these monstrous creatures that are very similar don't actually have a name. One thing they do have, however, is a similar hiding place, and that's underneath the ground. We know in From, during the day, these creatures will hide within the cave systems. These cave systems located beneath the very surface where all the chaos goes down. This parallels No I'm Not Human, seeing that these visitors seem to originate from there. But you also have this interesting rule set that both the visitors from No I'm Not Human and the monsters from seem to follow. In No I'm Not Human, these creatures, at least the ones who appear to be aware of their condition, will simply request to be let inside, refusing to blatantly just break in and tear you apart. And while there is no exact reason displayed for this behavior, in From, the monsters avoid doing the exact same thing if the person inside of their shelter has what's known as a talisman hung up close. See, with these talismans, any shelter someone finds immediately becomes under the protection from any of the monsters breaking inside. However, the source of these talismans and who exactly made them is still a mystery. But there's many mysteries in both of these properties. See, if you play the game No I'm Not Human or watch the show From, you'll quickly begin to realize that these creatures that visit your door at night are really only the tip of the iceberg in some of the craziness that's going on in the rest of the world. One other threat people have to deal with in both these stories is this sort of leader of the pack.
Can you chill? Oh, I'm not letting you in.
In No I'm Not Human, this would be the tall and lengthy pale man, and in the series From, this would be the man in yellow. Each of these beings representing similar traits to the other creatures that haunt people at night, with the only difference being that they seem to possess more power than the rest, with both of these creatures also being capable of breaking the rules established for the other monsters. Both of these beings also seem to be directly tied to the source of whatever weirdness is going on in both these stories, and while the chaos taking place within within these narratives could easily be deemed as something paranormal, there is clues and details added to these stories that become sort of breadcrumb evidence to suggest that maybe there's some sort of secret military project going on. In No, I'm Not Human, you have FEMA. This group seems to take control when all the chaos begins, and you hear a lot of their activity through the different news broadcasts. However, throughout the game, if you happen to survive long enough, you get glimpses of FEMA activity within the area, which increases over time depending on your choices. FEMA is mostly wearing hazmat suits everywhere they go, further suggesting some sort of infection. But it becomes quickly clear that FEMA knows more than they let on and are up to something else regarding the visitors and some people that seem to be infected with whatever makes a human become a visitor. Some even theorizing that FEMA was behind this infection and the chaos altogether. This was very reminiscent of From, where some of the characters were starting to become under the impression that this could be a governmental experiment, that the government could be observing their situation and refusing to help, treating them as sort of test subjects, and that there could even be plants disguising themselves as regular civilians. People who pursue this theory don't completely discount the paranormal. The parallels here is that in both these narratives, the government is theorized to be the cause of both of these issues. But another one of the big parallels tying these two properties together is that humanity's issues don't just stop there. See, in both stories, you get alluded to weirder and more dangerous things lying beyond the darkness. But it doesn't matter how dangerous or weird these things become when your next door neighbor could potentially be a threat to your very own life.
Show me you're not one of them. Any part of you will do. You got a gun. Fuck if I care. We'll both go down shooting that. Ear is. The fuck you mean ear is? That's not a goddamn visitor sign. You think I'm some kind of idiot. You're fucking dead, smart ass.
What, you think no one will fight back? I'll crush you. I've already lost everything, but you still have something left to lose. I'll drive you deep into the ground. I'll drown everything in your blood. Every bastard with a weapon in their hands dies today.
In No, I'm Not Human, this is a very significant premise within the story, whereas with From, the story starts off with most people being relatively unified. The big danger is people working against each other and coming under different goals. However, throughout the story of From, people begin drifting further and further apart. For more details on that, you can check out my From Civil War Theory video. Either way, I really appreciated how each of these properties tackle the growing fear with people who refuse to go outside and tend to isolate themselves and lock themselves away. Each of these stories signifying the importance of coming together as a community and watching out for your fellow man while dealing with the nightmares that are trying to kill you. Either way, are there any other parallels within these stories that you notice? Let me know down below. And I know one thing's for certain, if the visitors start knocking on my door, I'm definitely keeping it closed, pale man or not. By the way, thank you all for watching, appreciate your support, and happy Halloween.